It's July and our roses are hungry. Today we're sharing our secret for continuous rose blooms all summer long.
And our solid plan for turning our pink hydrangeas blue.
Welcome to our garden here in Zone 6A, upstate New York. It is July and we have just had the most glorious first flush of roses. This was a season for the record books. We had that cool spring and a lot of rain that charged up our roses in particular, and the hydrangeas actually. And we were given this beautiful show. And as you can see, they're looking a little bit spent at the moment. If you've been following us for a while, you will know that Eric loves hydrangeas and I love roses. I do like hydrangeas, and of course I love hydrangeas. Who doesn't love a hydrangea?
And I love roses.
Right, so we both convinced each other, but we flipped for it and we're starting with roses today because they are my heart. Now, this is the Lady of Shalott. We have 5 of them planted here. This is their
They were planted in 2022, so...
Okay. This is their 3rd full season, and we know the sleep, creep, and leap rule, so they are kind of leaping this year in general. The first thing that we're going to be doing is deadheading. Roses are the kind of shrub that really appreciate being pruned, especially that early spring prune is so important. But now that we're in summer, now that they've given us all this beauty and fragrance, it's time to trim them back. And then they will be able to send energy into new canes with new flowers that'll continuously bloom throughout the season. What I'm gonna be doing, and Eric, you're a little bit far away, but there's a couple flushes right in the center
Yeah, where
here.
are you starting? And I'll try and get in.
Well, you know, why don't I start here on the end?
Okay. I mean, these are pretty epic. I mean, they were covered with these flowers for most of the spring.
It really was an epic season. And you can already see new growth is coming here from this little shoot on the side. The thing about these kinds of roses, this is a David Austin shrub rose. It actually can be grown as a short climber. That's why we have them up against this wall here. What you're looking for is a set of 5 or more leaves. When you are pruning, you want to cut just above that leaf connector, leaf node area. And in this case, because this comes so far into the walking area, I'm going to bring this all the way back to this new growth here. And then I'm simply going to
Wait. There's new growth here.
But that new growth is kind of growing in the way I don't want. I want this growth to go up at this point. Does that make sense?
It does.
So I'm going to take this whole stem back to here. And then you can see this new growth is going upwards. And maybe I would want to take this as well, but I don't want to forfeit those blooms just now. And look at how funny the difference in just a few weeks. Not even a few weeks. This is probably a week from this point. So let me go back in here, find another set of 5 leaves. And this season, this far into the season, these are shooting out new growth already.
David Austin roses are so well bred that they will continue to bloom even without deadheading, but roses respond very well to deadheading and pruning. It makes them want to flower more.
This one, I'm going in there. And now you can see already how this has just tidied up this spot, and this growth is all going vertical from there. One of the rules of thumb with this kind of shrub rose is that the direction the leaf is growing out of is the direction the new growth is going to come. And just in there, can you see that, Eric? That little tiny node spot, there's a little dark piece.
Maybe if you put your hand behind it flat, we can see it.
That's the new node. Nope, not working. That's the new node, and that's where the leaf is, or the stem is gonna come from. So in this case, I'm actually gonna cut where this leaf was going this way because I don't want to encourage too much growth coming back towards the stairs. I want this to go back into the shrub. Ooh, this is tough.
Just do it.
We actually were talking about roses not too long ago, and I was accused of being brutal because I like to take roses about this level of finished because I'm trying to encourage more blooms. Still a little fragrance left.
Sometimes people message on Instagram and they say, my roses have all this little red growth coming out of it. Are they okay? And that red color is the new growth, so don't worry.
Some roses have a particularly red new growth, and that's something that might be a feature of that particular rose, that they have a redder new growth. Let's see here. That can go that way.
I'm really happy to see so much new growth. And I think when we add our magical potion of goodness, we're going to get even more.
Yes, this fertilizer blend's been very successful for us. So we'll be showing you in just a second what that is. Oh, that's a good one. Was a
Can
good
I smell
one.
it?
You can smell it.
Look at that. These were definitely the right choice for this spot. It's the north side of this short wall on the north side of our house. So they get some protection
And
from in the wintertime because they're right against this wall. I think the wall absorbs some heat for them and helps them in the wintertime. But then we get to sit up here on the terrace and enjoy their flowers as they cascade over the edge.
But I don't, how am I gonna get that? All right, let's see if he can reach.
All right.
There's one
Careful about the catman. I'm just kind of like nudging my toe under here to get the catman out of the way.
Oh, there you go.
I think I'll go down this far.
Yeah, go that pretty far so it stands back up. And then there's
Look
just,
at that. Look at
oh, that was tucked under. So pretty. Well, I'll take that after you're done smelling.
Mm.
And then there's one more that needs to be cut back pretty far. See, it's just laying. You got it.
And not pretty.
Yeah, definitely not pretty on that one. What a difference. There you go.
Did I get them all?
I think you've gotten them all. And now we will get these fed so they continue to put on more glorious blooms.
We have almost 100 roses in our garden, if you can believe it. So this seems like a huge amount of fertilizer, because it is. We're going to try and fertilize them all today. So we're starting with a base of Coast of Maine roses and flowers. It's specially created for vibrant roses, annuals, and perennials. So you might remember back in the spring, we did the same exact mix, and it was, Christopher, you know the ratios.
It's a 2 cubic foot bag mixed with 4 pounds, or maybe it was 4 cups. Basically, it's one of those bags mixed with one of these bags was the perfect ratio.
Yes, and this is Stonington Blend organic plant food with lobster kelp and worm castings. It's a 5-2-4. Christopher, people always wonder what those numbers mean, and you and I were just talking about it earlier today, and you were so good at describing it. So I'm going to let you take that one over.
The NPK is your nitrogen, your phosphorus, and your K, which is the K.
Struggling.
You could use pruners to cut the bag open.
I know, but it's got this nice little tab to open it with. There we go. Okay.
There you go.
I did it. Sorry, did I interrupt you or did you finish the explanation because I was so distracted?
I finished because my brain was elsewhere focused and I am really struggling on the K at the moment.
Oh, the K is potassium.
Is that, yes, you're right, that is the potassium. The potash, I was right, so potash.
Now, part of our, we changed from bark mulch to compost a number of years ago because in our garden, and we do use synthetic fertilizers, don't get us wrong, it's all about a balance, but we really wanted to focus on improving the soil because it is a new construction home. Our soil is basically backfill and sand from the construction. So there was like no nutrients, there was nothing. There's no biostructure really in place. So basically what we're gonna do is start tossing this at the base of our roses.
That's the whole plan. Would you say about a big scoop of each?
For
each
rose?
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanna be stingy.
Well, why don't we do a big scoop for each rose and then see how much we have left?
Yes.
And then we will redress.
Because we've got all of this for every rose and I guess, all right.
Yeah, well,
I won't be too generous.
Don't be too generous, but this is literally gonna go sprinkled around the base of each rose. If it doesn't rain, we'd probably water it in just so it doesn't blow away. But other than that, that's the whole secret.
So I could come over here and carry it up the
tottering,
stairs.
so you
I
don't
know,
have to.
I was gonna do tottering,
Okay.
but how we're going to apply it up here on Lady of Shalott, I'm assuming is we'll get a bucket worth and then we'll just come here and toss it down and around.
That's
and
it.
then walk up there and kind of, you know, toss. Toss,
Right.
toss.
Toss, toss.
As Glinda would say. Toss, toss. So let me grab the wagon. We'll start at tottering by gently. One of my favorite roses in the garden, honestly.
And this flushed for us remarkably well. It's been cut back, as you can see. It doesn't look like too much. But up close, look at all that new growth coming. It's happening.
And there are 3 of them here. This is the first one right here. You can look at this flower.
Oh yeah, there's a couple of that last. That's the last of the first flush.
But look at all the new growth.
It's covered.
And I'm just gonna do like a...
Toss, toss.
And you'll see underneath there is black chicken wire because we learned our lesson from this winter.
So this is the question. What will our roses do if they're this happy and healthy and they don't get eaten to the ground? So here, if you can't see it, let me get my hand in there, right there. So this is actually all wrapped in black chicken wire. It's vinyl coated and it completely blends into the plant. You genuinely can't see it. And then after we do that, we're going to be talking about how we keep these hydrangeas blue and maybe encourage that newer one to go in a bluer direction.
The perfect amount.
I'm really impressed that this was exactly enough.
1 scoop per rose. Who would have thought? It is now time to mix up our magic brew to take our hydrangeas from pink to blue. And that just rhymed. And wow, okay. We're back, but this time with different intentions for what we're spreading around the base of the hydrangeas. A lot of the reblooming ability of hydrangeas comes from the breeding itself. So as we're spreading this mixture underneath them, that rose and flower compost from Coast of Maine, that's definitely going to help. But we're using that mostly as a means to distribution of the following 2 items. To get your hydrangeas blue, if you have alkaline soil, which we do, we recently got the results of our soil test back, and it's 7.5.
Yeah, we were on the higher side than expected. I mean, 7 is neutral, but 7.5 is pushing.
Yeah, so for us to have a blue tinge to our hydrangeas, we're gonna have to be pretty proactive about it. And we're gonna wanna be doing that now as the buds for next year are being formed on these hydrangeas that bloom on old wood. Our first step is to get a soil acidifier added into the base. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pour the soil acidifier in with our rose and flower Coast of Maine. Ooh, that is powdery.
Yeah, powdery.
Powdery and potent. And then the most important component is adding in the aluminum sulfate. This is actually what's going to make the hydrangeas turn blue. It's the soil acidifier that helps the hydrangeas take up the aluminum sulfate in a more alkaline soil like we have here. So I would recommend, these darn gloves again, I would recommend having your soil tested to see if you even need to do something like this, right, Christopher?
Yeah, that's true. So if you have something closer to a 5.5, even, a 6 in your pH, you're already on the road to your hydrangeas being able to utilize the aluminum sulfate in the soil. So if you have a soil test and it turns out that you have a 5, 5.5, or even a 6 pH, you can skip the soil acidifier and go straight to adding aluminum sulfate. For us, because we're over neutral, we're that touch alkaline, we need to acidify our soil so the aluminum nutrient is available to the hydrangea. It's complicated. It's something we actually spent the morning just double checking all our facts and figures to make sure that we had it perfectly straight.
And it's just another example of how one size gardening does not fit all.
Our goal, because of our slightly more alkaline soil, is to push our macrophylla and serrata hydrangeas more into the blue. Some are not going to be blue, they might be a purple, but as you can see on these Let's Dance can-dos, we naturally get the pink. If that was the goal, to have more of the pink, we'd keep it. But why not play and have fun with the garden and give this a shot?
Absolutely. And I don't even know if we mentioned this, but there's only the two types of hydrangeas that'll turn color. Did you already talk about that, Christopher?
No, we haven't gotten there.
Okay, so we have all the different varieties of hydrangeas minus climbing, and the only two that will change color for you are macrophylla or big leaf hydrangea or serrata or mountain hydrangeas. And those are the only ones. So if you were to put this on a limelight or a panicle or like an arborescence, it's not going to do anything but add acidity to the soil. It won't have any impact on their color whatsoever. So like Christopher was saying, this is a Let's Dance can-do hydrangea, probably one of the newer varieties from Proven Winners, and it was such a breakthrough in breeding for hydrangeas because it took the best traits of the serrata or mountain hydrangea and crossed them with the best traits of the big leaf hydrangea. So now it reblooms. It blooms on every node from base to tip, and it's got improved bud hardiness. So really all we're doing today is taking our little mixture. Look at how well I mixed it up, Christopher.
You did such a good job.
Yes.
You're a great mixer.
So it's gonna have lots of good compost in it. And this isn't something I'm gonna toss as willy-nilly as I did with the roses, because roses can handle their crowns being covered. They don't mind. These would definitely mind. It would start to smother them. So I'm just gonna go up under here. Oh, look, it's spreading.
Oh, it's got a little bit of new
And I'm gonna go around the drip line. And the drip line is, I think of it as when the rain comes down and hits, when it falls off the leaves onto the ground, that's your drip line because the water is dripping off the leaves onto the ground beneath it.
That's something we have definitely learned over the years about hydrangeas, that they spread their roots out more horizontal. They're more shallow rooted, you would say.
Yes.
So they're really spreading out wide. So especially when we're adding drip irrigation or watering a hydrangea, an established one, you're not watering right at the base. You're kind of watering around it because that's where those real feeder roots are.
So see how I'm not going up underneath the hydrangea?
I love it. And you know what else is really great about all these Coast of Maine
Can I get a
amendments?
refill?
Oh, a refill?
Sorry, go ahead.
One of the great things about these Coast of Maine amendments that we've been using is because they're so compost based, they match the color of the compost we use as mulch. So these will just blend right in and it won't look like we have globs of something different on there.
And then what's really cool is we're gonna try something we've never done before, and maybe you have.
Tell us about this if you've used this product.
We never have, and this is something we're hesitant to try, but then we thought, why not? It's called Jack's Classic Hydrangea Blue. Because we have to water this stuff in anyway, I thought we'd add this to our Chapin Wet Dry, which you know we love. We use it all the time. And like try watering them in with this at the end.
Yeah, the Hydrangea Blue has both of these ingredients in it already. So maybe a little speedy upper of the process.
Not familiar with this, but we're gonna experiment with it. But let us know in the comments below if you have any experience with Jack's Classic Hydrangea Blue. All right, on to Let's Dance Rhythmic Blue.
Rhythmic Blue is next. The hydrangea we have that's probably the closest to a classic Cape Cod hydrangea is this Let's Dance Rhythmic Blue. These are newly planted, so because they haven't spread those roots out, I am gonna get just a little closer to the base of the plant. In years to come, of course, we'd start spreading this out, but these have that really big mop head look to them.
And you can see they've come to us blue already.
Yeah, that was something, when Eric told me this fact, you know, we're constantly learning new things and sharing them with each other, not just you guys, that if you were to acidify a hydrangea that already has buds on it, you're not doing anything to change that moment in time. What this is gonna do is get into the plant, and it's going to change the buds as they're forming. So right here, there's a little hydrangea that's starting. We can't change that color, but any bud that came here on this top part might be affected by what we're doing right now.
So right now we're having an impact on future buds. Do you want to talk about this tough stuff top fun as we're walking by? We're not gonna do it?
You know, when you're doing any kind of experiment, you need a control. So this tough stuff top fun is separate from the hedge we have over by the pergola. So we're gonna use this on the pergola area because the top funs get a really awesome, rich purple. But if we don't do this one, we'll see what it would look like in the native soil versus what it's gonna look like when it's acidified.
We have another newly planted hydrangea right here in this area, and I wanted to share with you not just how we're planning on turning it blue, but also some care tips for the first season, because you might have brought a gorgeously flowering hydrangea home from the garden center this spring that was all budded up and maybe already blooming, much like this one was, and then planted it. And now, in the heat of the summer, it's not looking great. So Christopher, come on in close and show kind of the brown on the blooms. This has nothing to do with the quality of the hydrangea or how much you water it. It just has to do with the hydrangea not being established enough to be getting all the water and nutrients it needs to make it through the hottest part of the summer. So what we're going to do to help it out is we're going to relieve some of its stress by just deadheading this hydrangea. But let's talk a little bit about the kind of hydrangea it is first. This is Let's Dance Ariba, which is another hybrid between a big leaf hydrangea and a mountain hydrangea. But what makes this one so epic is that it blooms big mop head flowers, which you can see some of the newer blooms are round, and it gets covered in blooms. But because it's not established yet, I'm going to take away the stress for this plant of trying to uphold these flowers in the heat of the sun this first summer in the ground and just deadhead it. But I'm gonna be careful about how I deadhead because again, this blooms on old wood and new wood. So it's just gonna be something as simple as going down to the very first set of leaves that are directly across from each other and cutting above that. And that's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna spend the next 5 minutes going through each hydrangea, completely deadheading it, and then we'll get into applying this aluminum sulfate and soil acidifier. Come on in here. We've deadheaded everything, but we did come across some beautiful new growth spots to share with you. And you can see it is putting on brand new growth out of some of these spots. And those, because this is a reblooming or continuous blooming hybrid, they're gonna come up and they're gonna put on fresh growth. Again, totally not necessary to do, but we wanted to do it for aesthetics and we wanted to ease the stress of the plant heading into the heat of the summer. Let's go ahead and top dress with some of our magic potion. Again, because these are newly planted, their drip line is still gonna be a little too far away from the actual root ball. Kind of like when Christopher was talking about the Let's Dance
Rhythmic blue.
Rhythmic blue. I always want to call them blue jangles, but that's another gorgeous blue hydrangea variety that we actually don't have.
We don't have that one. And it's basically rhythmic blue, but much tinier. It's an itty bitty little guy.
And this will help to protect those shallow roots as we're heading into the heat of the summer, because again, hydrangeas are super shallow rooted. They keep those roots close to the surface.
This will be a great opportunity too, since none of these buds have been formed yet on the second round of blooms. When these do start to bloom, they'll be acting on the goodness we've given them.
Yeah, I mean, if it makes it down there in time.
Well, I guess
this definitely isn't like a one and done. This would be something that we would continuously be doing.
How often do you think we will do this process going forward? Is this going to be a once a monther, or is this going to be every 6 weeks?
Oh, for us, realistically, like springtime and midsummer.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, realistically.
We're going to try.
Did I get all of them? I got distracted.
That's it. You got all 5.
All right. Let's do the same thing with our newly planted Tough Stuff AHA hydrangeas.
Also newly planted this spring is Tough Stuff Aha Mountain Hydrangea. What makes Aha different from the other Tough Stuffs is the gigantic individual semi-double florets. Each one of the sterile florets is just this big, huge, adorable flower. And then of course you have your fertile florets in the middle, and that's what your pollinators are gonna go for. In the heat of the sun, on new blooms without established roots, you can see we've got some browning, some unhappiness. So what we're gonna do is the exact same treatment as the Ariba. We're just gonna deadhead this, treat it with its acidifier. Obviously, we know they can be blue. These buds were obviously set in the greenhouse where they were treating it in that particular way. These came potentially from a greenhouse that was not treating it the same way. But for our purposes, we're treating them all equally, and we'll see what we get. Oh, you know what's great, Eric? Look at this new growth when I pull this bloom aside.
Let me see if I can get good lighting.
There you go.
And so same rule as before.
See all that new growth right there? And that's all happening around the first set of leaves that are directly across from each other. So using my skinny nippers, I'll go right in here above that. And now we reveal all this new growth that's happening and take away our spent flower.
This is a hedge of Tough Stuff Top Fun Hydrangea, which is an improved version of Tough Stuff. They've bred it to be a little bit more compact, so it gets about 2 to 3 feet tall and wide, and it blooms 3 times a season. So it's another continuous bloomer that can be changed, not to blue, but to a deep, dark, rich purple. And you can see last year we tried to add a little bit of soil acidifier, but we didn't add the aluminum sulfate. We did end up with a touch of lavender on this one.
Just a little bit of lavender.
So I think with our plan this year, we'll get a little more purple coming our way, right?
I think it's gonna be great.
And I'm gonna really focus on the front side of these because that's the side we see the most of.
And I don't know if it's possible, but there are times when you see a hydrangea that has multiple colors of bloom on it. Would it not be the coolest thing if we only did the front side and then somehow the blooms were multicolored?
I've seen it, and I think it would be gorgeous. So
There's
why not?
a particular hydrangea that I remember specifically seeing on Cape Cod last year at the Hydrangea Festival that looked fake. It had every single color possible on it. That one I might have to put up on the screen as well.
What was that one?
I don't know what it was called. I was looking at an old picture I had, and there's a tag near it, but I couldn't see the tag in the quality of the photo. So maybe I have some video that shows what it will look like, potentially.
All right, let's head over to the most incredibly performing big leaf hydrangea I have ever seen live in person in Zone 6A, upstate New York, with our brutal winters. Look at this.
At this hydrangea.
Let's Dance Sky View. Now, we did protect it over the winter, but you might remember it still died to the ground because we forgot that crucial step of filling the protectant
With some crushed
with
leaves.
like hay or whatever you're supposed to. But look at this. And they've got a tiny tinge of blue on them, so they're already doing their thing. Oh, gorgeous.
I cannot believe how beautiful these hydrangeas are. Like, this is it. This is the goal. This is what we're looking for in a magical, beautiful hydrangea. So I have a feeling he's going to use a little extra on this.
They're just so pretty. And then we recently added, if you can believe it, a Let's Dance Lovable.
Let's Dance
Right over
Lovable.
here.
Yes, it's their newest in this series of reblooming hydrangeas. It gets incredibly vivid flowers.
And you can tell it came to us with pink.
Yep.
It doesn't have blue or allude to blue in the name. So this is gonna be a stretch.
It's gonna be a stretch. Let's Dance Lovable, we saw these again last year. We had a big, or 2 years ago, we had a big year for hydrangeas. In Michigan at the Trial Gardens of Spring Meadow Nursery, we saw these hydrangeas and we were with a group of about 20 people. And if you wanna hear 20 or so rowdy people enjoying hydrangeas go silent, you walk up to this hedge of the Lovable. It was a knockout showstopper.
And Christopher, I think this is it as far as like big leaf hydrangeas getting soil acidifier and aluminum sulfate.
Come on over here. Let's set up this sprayer.
That hose link back there was probably like the best choice we could have made for this spot in the garden.
Honestly, because we've had to drag the hose through the pergola, through the chairs, try not to kill this poor sedum. And now, oh, straight shot, it's the best thing we ever did. So we've used the Chapin for the dry fertilizers before, but this time we're using it for this wonderful
Hydrangea blue, which I think it says to water, what, once a week with it?
This one was...
Or once a month with it.
Oh, where's the directions? There they are. This was every 14 days for the first month and then once a month.
Okay.
It just helps to maintain vibrant blue color. It has all the goodies in it, and it does have things that are derived from ammonium sulfate and potassium sulfate and all ammonium. There's ammonium. Something.
There's things in it.
There's things in it.
Again, totally new for us. Never used this product before. I do know it says not to get it on the foliage, so it's something that'll go underneath the plant for sure.
So again, our basket, and then this little tube
in case it's someone's first time seeing it.
This goes into the basket, and that'll get screwed onto the water reservoir. Let me get my little scoop here. I'm not going to use a ton of it because I don't think I'm going to need that much. The idea of this is to use 1 teaspoon per gallon. Tablespoon per gallon, thank you. I'm just going to fill this up a bit. You're supposed to water in the aluminum sulfate and the soil acidifier. Obviously, you want them getting into the soil, starting to work their way down. So what I'm going to do is use this Chapin sprayer. I'll put about half full. That should be enough for all of them. Lower this down in there. And put this in, turn it around. And of course, since we know it's the 1 tablespoon per gallon, we turn the yellow dial. Here, 1 tablespoon or 3 teaspoons, and I've got it set to dry. Quick connect. Before quick connects, and there's so many kinds of quick connects. I like this one because it has never leaked for us at all, and it's pretty, once you get the hang of how to use it, it's pretty easy. Just gonna turn this on here. So this will fill with water. And once it's filled with water, then it's producing the product. So I've got it on this kind of loose spray. And I'm gonna go right up underneath the plant and just start watering in all that good acidifier stuff. Trying to avoid getting it on the foliage.
Yeah, trying to avoid washing it away. And I do think it is one of those things that you could potentially overdo. So start slow, little by little.
We do have a tendency sometimes to overdo things and use a little bit too much, but in this case, we're really probably even below.
So pretty, I love the structure on that one.
It's funny, the leaves are a little smaller, a little different green. There's a red tinge to the serration on the edges of the leaves, which is different than Skyview.
Yeah, last weekend, Natalie Carmoli, the public relations specialist for Proven Winners Color Show Shrub, was here. And she just stopped in her tracks and she was like, wow, you can really see the serrata in that hybrid.
Yep.
In that foliage.
Wait a second. Is the serrata because the leaves are serrated and that's what differentiates it from macrophylla, which is just a big leaf?
Yeah.
Science. Science. Look at that. I feel like a whole genius.
I thought we knew that.
What?
What?
What did he say?
I didn't say anything.
Uh-oh. All right, why don't I do the top funds with this and then we'll switch to the other hose.
We're going to continue working out here in the garden, watering in the hydrangeas.
If you're interested in the hydrangeas that we chose in the garden for their cold hardiness, we have a video on our top picks of these hydrangeas that's popping up on your screen right now.
Again, I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow For Me Gardening.
Thanks for growing with us.